think it was on J Field on the
Yeah,
pass for the
it was.
first French try, and when I
Yeah,
watched it, I was like, that's not a ban.
yeah.
So I
I mean,
think that's fair enough.
yeah. I watched it back and thought the same. It looked a bit harsh. I mean, he was a step, literally a step
There wasn't
away from.
deflection in the neck, I didn't think either. If that was
No,
being a ban for me
it was more
personally.
of a push
Yeah,
rather than a hit. But
but it's classic Matautia. He's never on time for the tackling, is he?
yeah, and we need to, and the lessons there. I mean, Red V tweeted out straight after, we need to learn to stop doing this bloody thing. Suriname seems to have stopped that now, so it's not beyond the wit of man to stop Matautu doing it because we can't afford to keep having our best players on the sideline. It's ridiculous.
And James Roby got a grade A high tackle charge, but this wasn't featured in any of the write-ups, but it was on the minutes. But because it wasn't featured, probably they don't look at anything else he's ever done, and so they didn't give him a ban. I'm totally joking, but because he has got a relatively clean record, hasn't he? But yeah, for everyone who missed it, because the RFL didn't want to tell you about it in case anyone rebelled against the RFL for giving the temerity to give a charge to King James Roby, the hero. Saint James Roby, sorry, the hero of St Helens. He did get a grade A high tackle charge. I think for the one where he.
I think isn't it the one where
the one in the first half on Farrell where he hit him on the nose and then tried to pull his arm away and pretend he didn't hit him on the nose.
Well, it came off the ball, so if you look back at it, the arm comes off the ball and hits Farrell in the nose. So, I mean, anyway. I think if they'd given him a ban, they'd have appealed it. But given it was no matches, it's like, yeah.
It was definitely careless.
Yeah.
But at the lower end, so fair enough. I was surprised that he got a charge, but yeah. He did.
I was surprised they didn't bring up the crusher on Benison, but...
Do you know what? I watched it back, that one, and I can understand why he might have been hurt from it, but if you actually watch it, Havard's trying to give his head space, but the way they rotate, it's just Havard's head keeps getting in the way a bit, even though you can clearly see he's trying to move Benison to give him space. So I think that's why it's not had a charge. I think he was trying to give him space, and it was more head on head. It wasn't like leaning in. It wasn't like the Fash one that also didn't get a charge but looked way worse in the whole derby. So I think it was just totally accidental. It wasn't due to Havard's technique or anything like that. So I think that's why it didn't get cited for anything. But yeah, I know what you're saying though.
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Great game.
Shall we move on to a game that I don't think was as great? And the fact that we only got 3 fan views on it suggests the same.
Worst game of the weekend for me, this one, but there you go.
Yeah, and it was the only game of the first day where the scoring went against the slope. It was Leeds versus Castleford. It was 10-6 to Castleford up the hill in the first half, but then Leeds absolutely demolished them. It finished 34-20 in the second half with a couple of late scores, making it a bit more flattering for Cass. Ben Thaler got his first Super League game of the season with the whistle. The stats weren't quite as dominant as the match went for Leeds, but I think that's because the first half was quite even. They only made 38 more metres, and Cass actually had a better average gain. But Leeds did make 4 more breaks and 4 fewer errors, so they were way better at executing than Cass were.
Yeah. For the winners, Cam Smith, 1 try assist, 140 metres and 3 offloads. Liam Sutcliffe has got a long stat line here. 1 try, 2 try assists, 9 tackle busts, 128 metres and 2 clean breaks.
He was good.
He was very good. Ash Handley, 1 try, 117 metres. Richie Myler, 1 try and 120 metres, who was excellent.
He was really good. He was everywhere, I felt like. Yeah.
Really
it's
good.
like, because they played... Corey Johnson played, and he's not a 6. I don't know if he's ever played in the halves, but I've never seen him play in the halves. And he contributed in terms of ticking things over or what have you, but it felt like there was 2 halfbacks on the pitch, Caesar and Myler.
Yeah.
Myler was doing the job of the 7 and the 1, it felt like at times.
I thought so.
Caesar was good too, don't get me wrong.
Caesar was good, but
his best game for Leeds, he gets sent off and going to miss a couple of games. Classic.
There you go. For the losers, Joe Westerman, 50 tackles, 10 from marker and 133 metres, and some very nice passing. in effectively the role of a 6, even though he was playing loose forward. I thought he linked up the line and passed very well. Daryl Alford, 151 metres. Beretta Faraimo, another long stats line. 2 tries, 1 try assist, 5 tackle busts, 142 metres and 3 clean breaks.
How good was his try assist? He was practically half a yard over the sideline when he kicked that ball back inside.
It was my favourite kick of the weekend because I was right down at that point in front so I could see what was going on. I thought there's no way there's no way he's kicked that and it can't be right. But then when you watch it back, you think, flipping heck, he's got that one back in.
I wasn't super convinced Mavo was onside.
No, but
I would have wanted to see that back in the ground. But I mean, it made up for the fact that the first try he scored, was just such a miserable fall over the line.
Over job. Dreadful defence. Mahe Fanua, 1 try and 131 metres.
Cutthroat Jake said, this was the first Leeds match I've managed to watch since my IOP, and what a game it was. I didn't know you had stuff going on, John. I hope you're recovering well. Good luck with your recovery. He said, fantastic performance from Cam Smith, and if Ash Hanley isn't included in the World Cup, there is no justice. Rowan Smith appears to be having a great influence on the team, reminiscent of his uncle. Here's hoping the improvements continue. Yeah, Cam Smith, for me, I mean, he's on the short list for loose forward of the year. He's been exceptional.
Yeah.
And Ash Hanley gave us, in what was potentially the worst defensive game of the weekend, even though the Wakefield Toulouse game would have an argument with it over that.
Mm-hmm.
But it had the most exciting single piece of defence with his chase down on Eden, where
that was brilliant, wasn't it?
He absolutely flew. He went at 36 kilometres an hour, didn't he? Which is only 0.1 kilometre an hour behind J Field's fastest speed of the season so far in Super League. So that's how good it was. What a chase down that was. It was so exciting.
It was. He absolutely flew. He was going like Billy Whiz. It was and a good tackle at the end of it as well. It's good stuff.
Yep.
Leighton Rhino says, after an arm wrestle first half, it was a very satisfying second half. Love our confidence in attack, and the Bentley try needs sticking on Pornhub. Very uplifting, whatever that is. Very uplifting. Will our points difference help us to sneak into the top 6? In Rowan, we trust.
I'm not sure there's as many wide open gaping holes on Pornhub as what Bentley ran into against the grain.
Mark.
Scoot said, I had high hopes for this game, but it ended up a bit of a damp squib. After 2 tight games, this was all a bit meh, and there wasn't much to be said other than working out which train time we would manage to get back to the hotel. Faremo has slimmed down and looked decent. I think he looked decent. I think for Cass, you mentioned Westerman was all right. I thought they just didn't create anything. They were missing McShane more. Both teams were missing their most influential player, which is their 9. Leeds adjusted better with the step up in performance of Caesar and Myler, as much as the job that O'Connor did filling in and Dwyer off the bench is typical Dwyerness. But they did much better at compensating for the loss of their star 9 than Castleford did, I thought.
Controversial, I know, but I always wonder, the last few weeks, last couple of games at home, Cass have looked really good. I thought they were excellent against Huddersfield. But we all know the Cass pitch is a little on the small side. Newcastle certainly is not a small pitch. And I do wonder sometimes when Cass have to go and play on the big, wide open spaces, whether they're quite the same team, whether it's a bit of a disadvantage in some ways because they're just not used to, that sort of size of grass. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, really. There was some bits of really weak defence, I thought, from Cass. Sutcliffe was good, but that where he bounced inside before putting that kick through for Myler's try, it was like they stepped back to show him a path to get the break. It's like and there was a couple of times where it just looked like cast defenders were almost resigned to the inevitable rather than putting everything in to try and stop the score, especially in that 20-25 minute period after half time where Cass were as bad in that period as Toulouse were in the first half and Wakey were in the second half of their games, I thought, in that sort of 25-minute period. And Leeds took full advantage. Don't get me wrong, Leeds were exceptional in that period.
Yeah, there were. It was definitely a little bit of after the Lord's Mercy show, wasn't it? After the intensity and quality of the Saints Wigan game. This one didn't quite grab the imagination in the same way. I didn't think, anyway.
Oh, Caesar hasn't got a ban.
Oh, really?
How did Caesar not got a ban? So Matt Pryor's got a grade B late hit on kicker, too much penalty notice. I think I remember a late hit on the kicker, but I couldn't remember which game it was in. So it must have been that one. Appeal unsuccessful on that one. And Liam Watts has got a grade B high tackle, too much penalty notice. Both guys top end of their grading because they're always banned, but Caesar hasn't got a ban. He left his feet and swung his arm.
I know, that is odd.
I'll be honest, I haven't watched this game back, so I haven't seen it up close to see if it looked as bad as it looked live. Because why would I watch this game back when I had,
Well, there was a lot of chat about this in the pub, wasn't there? Why hadn't he been sent off when, Singleton was sent off against Saints? So it's a real surprise that having not been sent off, he's not been charged either.
It must not have been. I mean, it did look a little bit. It did look a bit like it lacked force, but it was out of control. But maybe it lacked force, and that's why it's ended up this way. And they thought that the sin binning was the sin binning or a red card was the same, weren't it? Because it was about 8 or 9 minutes left in the match. But yeah. The
Matt Pryor one I have watched back because I was keeping an eye on the appeals process this evening, and he's got 2 steps. He makes 2 steps between when the ball's passed and when the ball's kicked and when Pryor arrives. So I always think if you've got 2 steps in, you've got time. If one step, you can just about excuse. You've got 2 steps in, you've probably got time to stop, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Cass might have had a sniff of a comeback opportunity if that Eden interception had turned into a try. I don't know what happened. But clearly Eden's not as fast as he used to be, and Handley is very fucking fast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Handley for England?
I like Ash Handley. I mean, I've been saying for a couple of years he's one of my favourite wingers in the league. I'd certainly have him in the squad.
Yeah, maybe that's another call we need.
Yeah, be in my squad.
I've been impressed last couple of weeks by his efforts chasing down stuff, as well as the fact that he's scored a ton of tries recently.
Yeah. And he's a big lad. He's no small guy, and I think that counts for something when you're playing up against the Australians. So it certainly ought to be in consideration.
And he's shown good leadership qualities, I think, as well recently. He's the assistant captain, isn't he? Or he has been in recent years at Leeds. So, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Another line on Cass. Former Cass Tigers hooker Jax O'Neill has decided to leave the ITV show Love Island. So
whatever that is.
Apparently, when we're talking about this right now, viewers will be watching him explain his reasons. But he's leaving the Villa immediately, and if he does decide to come back to Rugby League, Cass have first option on him. But of course, Love Rugby League are on top of that way more than we are, so well done to them for the reporting of it. Because they have people under the age of 30 on their staff.
Yeah, is Love Rugby League like a sub-organisation of Love Island?
Maybe we need a Love Rugby League Island.
Maybe. Yeah, there's an offshoot there, mate. There's a lot of money to be made out of that.
Let's see Josh trying to pull in in some Spanish villa. I'm not sure his missus will be happy about it, but it'd be entertaining for us.
Indeed.
Anyway, game 4 on to Sunday game. It was Huddersfield-Salford. It was 24-6 to Huddersfield at half-time. That try just before half-time by Jeremy Gilvery kind of killed the game. It finished 30 points to 18. and Marcus Griffiths was the referee. In terms of the team stats, the Giants made 200 more metres at over 1 metre per carry better average game with twice as many breaks, 6-3. They overcame giving up an 8-4 penalty count, but a couple of those were for the disallowed tries late on in the game that we will be getting to.
And for the winning Giants, Jerry McGill